Okay, guys, so I gave you a little bit of a warning in my last video that we were going to have to do our videos, our final trade videos, which, by the way, there's going to be there's going to be 3 days more of trade videos before trades cannot be made anymore. But I gave you a heads up that I'm going to have to provide you guys with little updates of around the league in terms of what each team is doing with the latest trade rumors around the most well-known players. So in this video, I have two huge trade updates, and one of them we got during Super Bowl Sunday, and the other, well, we got a little bit later that night. And the first one has to do with D'Angelo Russell. And really quickly, before we get to the news, guys, I dropped my first, and it's a great video, by the way. I dropped my very first NFL channel video. It's about why so many players were drafted before Lamar Jackson. My NFL channel is called Microphone. So if you're a huge NFL fan, man, go check it out. It's in the description down below or the pinned comment section. Go ahead, subscribe, turn on notifications. I'm going to try to bring out 1 to 2 NFL videos a week until I eventually turn it into a full-on news channel like this channel. On top of that, if you're new to my channel and this is like your third or fourth video, man, please take a moment to subscribe. I just went full-time on YouTube. If you really want to support my dream, make sure you turn on my notifications. Finally, make sure you're followed on Instagram, which is @TheFlightMike, which is the same as my Twitter, the same as my Facebook, and the same as my TikTok, which is where I post my workouts, man. So the very first update I have to bring for you guys has to do with D'Angelo Russell, and it's going to be very brief because I don't think much of it. And we talked about this in my last video where I said I don't think D'Angelo Russell is going to go anywhere, but apparently there was this news that the Timberwolves and the New York Knicks are interested in a trade for D'Angelo Russell. And this came out earlier today. And I was literally thinking, dang, if you were subscribed to me, you would know that D'Angelo Russell's not going anywhere. I don't care if the Knicks are interested. I don't care if the Timberwolves are interested. Reportedly, according to my last video, the Timberwolves actually offered Andrew Wiggins. Now, a lot of people don't believe this. This is according to our source at The Athletic. And so you could choose to believe this or you could choose not to believe this, but either way, that trade was declined and D'Angelo Russell is still a member of the Golden State Warriors. So I don't know how much more the pot could be sweetened in order to convince the Warriors to give up D'Angelo Russell. The Knicks are also interested, but I feel like the Knicks are just interested in anybody. They're just trying to get started. They're trying to get that franchise player. And both teams, both the Timberwolves and the New York Knicks, are not interested in parting with any significant assets that could hurt their future because they're both rebuilding. So what could you possibly give the Golden State Warriors to take D'Angelo Russell off of their hands? Especially because the Warriors apparently want to hold on to D'Angelo Russell just to see how a backcourt tandem of Steph Curry and D'Angelo Russell will do. And I'm sure even once Steph Curry and D'Angelo Russell start playing together, which, by the way, Steph Curry is to return in the beginning of March, even once that happens, I bet you that the Golden State Warriors are going to think, okay, we saw Steph and D'Angelo play together. Is Klay Thompson going to make this any different? Should we see how Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and D'Angelo Russell play together before we make a big decision to trade D'Lo? Bear in mind, D'Angelo Russell's 23 years old. You know, there's no rush in trading him. He just signed a fresh new contract extension this past year when he was traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Golden State Warriors. I personally don't think he's going anywhere. It doesn't matter if the Knicks are interested. It doesn't matter if the Lakers are interested, which, you know, they're not. But it doesn't matter. The Warriors are going to probably retain D'Angelo Russell because there's nothing you could give them to convince them to give up on him. But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think I'm wrong for any reason whatsoever? Because, you know, this is the barbershop of YouTube, and I like to get your guys' opinions as well. Moving on to this next bit of news, and this actually makes a lot of sense. So, if you're a Houston Rockets fan, or if you've just been following the Houston Rockets throughout the year, you would hear that things aren't going as they expected, man. Come on. Of course they haven't. They finished 4th in the Western Conference last year. They traded Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook. Whether that is an upgrade, the jury is out on that. I really think that was mainly done because Chris Paul and James Harden's personalities were beginning to clash. Yes, Chris Paul is a little older, but he has 1 year less on his max contract. Of course, Russell Westbrook is still closer to his prime than Chris Paul is. But again, I still think Chris Paul was the better fit in Houston as opposed to Russell Westbrook. Whether you agree or disagree with that is up to you. But the Houston Rockets, regardless, are looking to make a move. And originally, I thought that move may have been Russell Westbrook a while ago. And after that, I thought that move may have been, I don't know, Eric Gordon. Now I'm starting to become more and more aware that this move, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, which is by far the most credible source on the internet, without a doubt, unless if you're a Shams guy, but I personally am a huge Woj guy myself, the number one player that the Houston Rockets are currently trying to get to move on from is Clint Capela. And it makes a lot of sense. If you think about it, Clint Capela was grossly overpaid a couple of seasons ago. Of course, you know, he's a great player. He's not a $100 million contract player, in my opinion. But the Houston Rockets, being the Houston Rockets, did what they had to do to keep their core together. So, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, as the trade deadline looms on Thursday, Houston is engaged with several Eastern Conference teams, including Atlanta, on center Clint Capela. There are a few multi-team trade scenarios in play. Capela could be a way for the Rockets to get the draft assets the team needs to flip for a wing player per sources. Rockets talks around the league suggest they'd like to acquire a wing and a center before the deadline. The issue that the Rockets are having is they have way too much money allocated towards all these players. They're very top heavy as well. All their money goes to James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Clint Capela, and Eric Gordon. So when you do that, and we say this a lot on this channel, what wins championships on this channel? Depth. So the Rockets are completely devoid of depth right now. And again, we always bring back the example of what helped them get to the 2017 Western Conference Finals. You know, the first year that they had Chris Paul, I think it was technically 2018, but you get what I'm saying? The one thing that helped them get there was the fact that they had Trevor Ariza, they had Luke Richard Mbah a Moute, they had all these players that could lock down other teams' best player and at the same time provide a three-point punch on the other end and allow James Harden and Chris Paul to create for them. And that's what helped them. So trading Capela in order to get deeper, in my opinion, is a good move. I know this sounds ridiculous. I know this may sound fairly fair weather fan of me, but I personally believe that any guy at the center position could do what Clint Capela's job is. Of course, Clint Capela is very talented, but I feel like if you were to downgrade Clint Capela to, and I'm not saying there's a way they could even acquire JaVale McGee, but a player similar to JaVale McGee, or, you know, a player like Tyson Chandler who just catches the alley-oops, I think you'll be fine. I don't think you're going to be losing a lot as a result of that. So here's the thing. Atlanta is probably the most likely team that could give you a player in return for Clint Capela. Atlanta originally had one of the best trade pieces in the NBA, but I don't know how this is going to work anymore because according to, I'm not sure if you heard about the tragic news surrounding Chandler Parsons, but he retired recently. So I don't know if his cap money is still on the books for Atlanta, but if it is, if he could still be used as a trade chip, then Atlanta would be able to trade Chandler Parsons for a player like Clint Capela. And this is very on brand for Atlanta. They've been interested in Steven Adams. They've been interested in Andre Drummond in the past. So this makes a lot of sense. But who Atlanta would be giving up would probably be a player like Jabari Parker and maybe Jeff Teague to make the money work. Or they may be giving up a couple of other expiring contracts and some future assets as well. But I don't think Atlanta would be interested in parting with draft picks, although, well, they probably would have to acquire Capela. It really depends on how the Rockets view Clint Capela's value and how much the Atlanta Hawks also value Clint Capela. Because bear in mind, Capela is 25. He makes $14.9 million this year, and then he gets paid $16 million the next year, $17.1 the year after, and $18.2 million the year after that. He's very similar. His stats are very Andre Drummond-esque, although they're not close to what Andre Drummond's averaging. He's averaging 14 points and 14 rebounds a game for the Rockets. He's currently injured, but you have to understand the Houston Rockets, when you play on the Houston Rockets offense, there's a lot of opportunity to pump up your stats. You're talking about a team that just pushes the pace like no other. You've seen how much James Harden is averaging per game this year. So for the most part, it makes a lot of sense why Capela would average 14 rebounds a game and 14 points per game. If you trade him to a team like the Atlanta Hawks, those numbers are without a doubt going to take a dip. So we have to wait and see on what the situation with Capela is. What the Rockets would do immediately after trading Capela remains to be seen, because this would probably be a part 1 to a 2-part trade where the Rockets would also see a wing player potentially come over and help them out. What that wing player is, I'm still not exactly sure. I'm open to you guys letting me know in the comment section who you think the Rockets should employ, but there's one thing I know for sure, and that's the fact that the Houston Rockets need to do whatever it takes to shed some salary, because they pretty much did their best to upgrade their roster, and they're currently 5th place in the West, which is still a downgrade from where they were last year, and they're competing with the OKC Thunder, for crying out loud, which is the team that traded them Russell Westbrook for Chris Paul. They were supposed to be the downgraded team, but yet here they are. They have practically the same record. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you think that the Houston Rockets should trade Clint Capela, or do you think they should trade Eric Gordon or Russell Westbrook or someone else? And also, let me know what you guys think about the D'Angelo Russell situation. Do you think the Knicks are going to be able to acquire him, or do you think the Warriors should keep on to him for the rest of the year? Make sure to check out my latest NFL video on microphone, guys. If you enjoyed this one, I'm your boy, TheFlightMike, and I'll catch you guys next time. Now.